Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's great to see you. This is a Uranus planet energy reading. So today the energy of Uranus wanted to come through. Again, only take these are sort of like general collective readings, so only take it if it resonates for you within the first couple of minutes, or if you're interested in learning more about the planet and how to work with that energy. Otherwise, just go find a different video. This is just sort of the direction that the readings are going in for the next little while. So just to start off the introduction, I guess, for this reading, I have two books here. These are guidebooks for oracle decks. They both have a Uranus description. And I'm going to read both of them just because they're similar, but there are some differences. So for the Alchemy deck, the Uranus planet energy is coming through with the words awakening, brilliance, and individualism. So when Uranus strikes, we are in for a surprise, not in the outer world, but in ourselves. What wasn't possible before is possible now, thanks to Uranus and its ability to shatter our preconceptions. The shift in perspective or identity brings newfound freedom and opens up dormant energy. For an alchemist, this may be experienced as a long-awaited aha moment or sudden stroke of genius. Inventions and innovations are born under Uranus energy. This card may also appear to show us what is particularly unique about ourselves or another. A seemingly random or idiosyncratic quality may end up being the secret ingredient needed in the laboratory. The alchemist knows this radical energy isn't sustainable, and so the work is to show up each day whether or not Uranus strikes. And there's just a small note for this one. Don't get attached to Uranus energy. It can lead to a restlessness or chasing of inspiration, always looking for the next best thing. Take its medicine as an occasional blessing. Uranus is aligned with the story of Prometheus, the god of fire. Consider his myth and relate it to your own story. In what instances have you been Prometheus-like? That's an interesting... Anyways, I'm gonna read the second one. So this is from There Are No Coincidences. Uranus is a real weirdo, and not just because it's the butt of all jokes. Uranus was the first planet spotted through telescope, a monumental scientific breakthrough that corresponded with the technological advancements of the 18th century. Additionally, Uranus is the only planet named after a Greek god, as opposed to a Roman deity, and it's tilted so far on its axis, a stunning 97.77 degrees, that it essentially orbits sideways. These eccentric features perfectly mirror its symbolic significance. From an astrological perspective, Uranus represents technology, rebellion, innovation, and raw genius. Frozen and distant, Uranus isn't concerned with day-to-day tasks and responsibilities. Uranian energy ideates on a big picture, long-term, macro scale. Detached and unemotional, Uranus's motto is, hey, it's nothing personal. Indeed, this revolutionary planet rejects conformity at all costs. Free thinking and unconventional, Uranus will always choose chaos over structure. Although Uranian energy can skew towards destruction, in certain branches of astrology, Uranus is associated with natural disasters such as earthquakes and tornadoes. Uranus's core motivation is progress. Fundamentally, Uranus is looking towards the future. And so there's been, when I read those two descriptions, there was kind of this energy, like I was seeing like the Tower card that's in the Muse deck, which is sort of like this lightning kind of energy coming in. So that's sort of the symbolic significance of Uranian energy. And it is coming through with sort of a feeling of like routine, which is sort of like a Saturn energy to me. So the Saturn reading has been coming up a lot recently. But there may be something about like routine that is actually going to... It's not that your routine is changing or that there's like a change to the routine, but it's kind of like through something that's very routine or something that's like a day-to-day thing or whatever, however that resonates for you, there's some sort of new perspective on it is kind of how that's coming through. A new perspective that's arriving through something that's very stable, very routine in your life is how it's coming through, which is interesting. So it's kind of looking at like what's very routine in your life, or like what are some of the habits that you have, or I was reading this poem. I don't know if I'll be able to find it again in this one before this reading about doing things. If you're like struggling with something, sometimes it's like helpful to just do something over and over again, and you kind of get a different perspective on it. So it might be something like that. I'm not going to be able to find it again. Where it's like, let's say if you like repeat a word, a simple word over and over and over again, eventually it starts to lose meaning, its original meaning. But that something new can come out of it is how it's coming through, or a new perspective. I feel like it's coming through as being like a new perspective on something that perhaps you've been doing routinely. So yeah, I was seeing the Tower card, the lightning, and with the description of the Uranus being sort of like a lightning strike of inspiration. I was having like this, I had like this memory of like perhaps maybe like a story that I read when I was a child. I can't remember where this memory originated from, but it was something about like lightning, like catching lightning, like how to catch lightning in like a glass bottle or a glass jar or something like that. So it's kind of coming through with like creativity or inspiration, like because in my opinion, being creative is not something that's like lightning, right? Because the Uranus energy, as it in the description, was sort of like it's not a dependable source of inspiration. It's kind of just like an occasional blessing to break you out of perhaps some sort of routine way of thinking. But creativity, in my opinion, is more so something that you can actually work on and build in like a Saturn kind of way, like to provide structure to it. It's kind of like if you don't have the proper structure or the proper receptacle or the proper channel or the proper outlet to catch the lightning, then the opportunity is just going to be missed or something like that. So it's kind of talking about like the balance between doing something routinely, which is sort of like providing structure to something, or is something that's like worked on day to day, that kind of thing, which actually provides the structure or the receptacle or the means through which to catch the lightning, if that makes sense. I was seeing the movie Sweet Home Alabama, if you've watched that, Like the scene about like lightning turning sand into glass. That's so interesting. Okay, from this oracle deck that I'm using, it says a thorn in the paw. A thorn in the paw. Number 35. I was and even before this, I was reading the original story of Sleeping Beauty, of like getting a splinter causing Sleeping Beauty to fall asleep, which is so interesting that this card is coming out. A thorn in the paw. I am going to read through this one as well, just because there's so much information in this guidebook, which I love. That's so interesting. A splinter or a thorn in the paw that causes a slumber. Okay, I'm going to read the story and the notes. So it says, Bear awoke one late summer morning to a bit of a chill and damp in the air. Bear stretched and rolled on some soft ground, awakening its great body before heading towards the stream for a breakfast of fish. On the way, the smell of late lingering berries warming in the first rays of light caught Bear's attention. Bear thrust its hulk through the shady brambles until it reached the sweet fruit glistening in the morning sun. It happily feasted and then continued on towards the river. But with each step on its right rear paw, a sharp pain shot like a spreading needle, alerting Bear's nervous system. After a few paces, Bear sat itself down and used its teeth to remove the offending thorn from its paw. Then, without further ado, Bear continued on towards the river until the smell of honey caught its attention. So the key notes are: face and resolve issues you may be ignoring. Respond appropriately to the pain and immediate cause of a minor wound, so it does not turn into a deeper wound. Then move on. We've all had the experience of some type of grit or irritation on the underside of our foot. In this situation, you have two choices. You can keep walking on the prickly object, prolonging your pain, and perhaps allowing an easily resolved issue to become a much stickier situation. Or you can stop walking for a moment, remove the painful object, and move on, free and at ease. So there's a small situation, a small wound, let's say, that is better dealt with as it is, right? Like as it is now, before it has the potential to become worse. And it could be something like feeling like sort of like a lightning strike, like a discomfort or a quote unquote tower moment, or some sort of like uncomfortable energy that is alerting you to something, but it's like getting you to deal with a problem before it becomes worse, is how that's coming through. Okay, I'm gonna get an alchemy card. The Raven's head. This one's like a call. Okay, one more. Some sort of significant transformation. Maybe not. The moon. So the moon reading that I did a couple of weeks ago might be relevant, but maybe not. And the gold card. Oil of vitriol. Okay, so this card talks about anger, or that there's like something that is Somebody who's upset about something. It's kind of like there's something about like perhaps somebody's upset about something here with a thorn in the paw. Or that there's like something that needs to be removed or dealt with, or That's the overall context though. So in the overall context, there may be energies here around you that are like acting out in some way. The oil of vitriol, that's not a fun energy to deal with, but I'm going to read that one. That one feels like the most necessary to read. So, acidity, resentment, purification. When the green line appears, a great alchemical reckoning is afoot. Long-standing frustration and imbalance cause this regal creature to lash out unconsciously, consuming all in its path. Be prepared for emotional turmoil as the lion thrashes about. Don't worry, these changes are necessary for growth, and in the end will be a relief to all. Purification is the lion's aim, and it's determined to get there one way or another. When this card appears, the question must be asked, am I the green lion or the sun? The one consuming or the one being consumed? It is said that finding oneself in the mouth of the lion is a necessary moment on any spiritual path. As the discomfort passes, the sunbeams shine all the brighter. So it's interesting. Maybe you're dealing with someone, or this could also be within you as well, where it's like maybe there's something here with the thorn in the paw. It's kind of like when an animal is in pain, right? Because there's a thorn in the paw, right? They perhaps, if they can't access it or heal it, it can cause sort of a lashing out. That's what this is coming through with. I don't know if that's you or somebody else that you're dealing with, or this is just the context is how it's feeling. There's a situation where somebody perhaps is acting out of pain is how it's coming through. So someone who's acting out of pain, maybe they're coming in as sort of like a lightning energy. Like a disruption of some sort, or like it feels like somebody's plans are changing, or that they're like something's getting interrupted, or there's some sort of disruption. So this moon card is talking about listening. I feel like there's an energy of like listening to whatever's happening around you, because there may be information coming through about that. You have here the gold card. I'm going to get more cards on that in a second. I just want to see what the Raven's head says. Initiation, the ordeal, the work begins. Indicates something has occurred to initiate the spinning of the alchemical wheel. With its mighty churning, things are about to change on every level. The raven's work cannot be undone, just as the pill cannot be unswallowed, or the pearl turned back to sand. You may be overwhelmed or think that the journey ahead is not for you. Your doubts matter not to the raven, as its appearance signifies it has chosen you. You are ready, and the moment is now. Can you go back to the way things were? Can you pretend nothing has changed? The raven caws a clear no. It does not apologize as it knows your destiny is great. There may be an energy here trying to stop you is kind of how it's coming through now. Because the way that this card was coming through to me, the energy of the thorn in the paw, it's kind of like a minor inconvenience or something that's just kind of like you deal with it and then you move on kind of thing. But it may be coming from an energy of somebody who is acting out of pain or something like that. I feel like for you though, it's kind of like you can deal with it and move on. There's an energy here of being patient as well. This one, okay. So it could be something like there's something that's sort of causing a delay, or that is like you kind of just need to deal with something and then move on. I was also seeing a pine cone, which to me represents sort of like the third eye awakening, like being able to see something perhaps with like a new perspective. Perhaps being able to see something with a new perspective. I feel like there's also something coming in about like it's not personal. Whatever is happening, it's not personal, right? It's kind of like if you get like a splinter, that's not really something like there are forces conspiring against you. It's not anything like that, right? It's just kind of like you deal with it and move on. The Three of Cups and the Pathfinder. I feel like it should be the other way. The Pathfinder is the Page of Wands, the Knight of Wands, I think, in this deck. But that's the Lion. Like someone's getting ready for a race or getting ready to take some sort of action, but they step on a splinter right before. It's not a race. It's not a race. That's what I want to say about that. And the Cosmic Tree, which is the Hermit card. It might be something like a delay that is actually divine timing. So if you feel like you've been delayed, or that there has been some sort of delay or interruption or inconvenience that has caused a setback, it's actually divine timing. The Two of Birds. That's really interesting. And the Peacock, which is the Empress. The Two of Birds in this deck talks to me about two people who are trying to work together, but there is either like a miscommunication about what needs to be done, or that there's kind of like each is sort of focused on their own individual goals, that the common goal sort of gets lost. Is kind of how that's coming through. So if there is a delay, it's like, okay, so is that, hold on, let me get more cards for that. Maybe that's necessary for the time being. You have here the Fighter. That's the Knight of Swords. So the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords. Someone trying to fight you on something, or like... With the oil of vitriol as well, right? It kind of feels like somebody who's like disgruntled or like trying to disrupt some sort of process. But again, it doesn't feel like necessarily it's an intentional thing, right? It's not personal, is how it's coming through. It's that there may be somebody who's acting out because there's pain or wounding of some sort. And so that might be sort of the way that they're acting is because of that. You have here the Maze and the Life Map. So that's Temperance and the Wheel of Fortune. And then the Eight of Trees and Infinite Paths, the Sun card. So this is moving forward, right? It's like you're moving forward to something that is meant for you. Or that's like you're headed there. You're going there. You have plans. Or at least like have the next step, but it's kind of like there's like stepping on a splinter, which may be coming through as some sort of disruption or somebody. I'm gonna say it's a somebody, but it doesn't have to be a person. It could be an event or a situation or some sort of surprise that might cause a delay or a setback in some way. It's not personal, is kind of how it's coming through. It's not anything that like you did wrong or that like whatever. It's not coming through like that. It's kind of just like... It's almost feeling like an old wound that is almost being like reopened is how it's coming through. Like something from the past that is being reopened or like it feels like a problem that you've already dealt with in some way, or that's something that you've already dealt with or overcome. And so that's why it kind of feels like it's just a minor inconvenience. In the past, though, it might have been a bigger deal or a bigger issue, but it's almost like this coming in as being sort of like it's kind of like in the healing process, every time an old wound gets reactivated, it's like it becomes less severe or less, I guess severe. It becomes less activating each time it comes back around, is how that's feeling to me. And that's a sign of healing, right? So it's kind of like perhaps in the past there's something that would have been more activating or more alarming or more So yeah, maybe that moon reading from the past is significant, right? Like being able to understand or see why this energy keeps coming up or is trying to be healed is how it's coming through. And like each time it does, it becomes less of perhaps like a sensitivity or each time it comes up, it goes through another round of healing is how it's coming through. Then you have the Protector card coming out next. This card talks about specifically that like your creative pursuit of a project or something like that, or whatever it is that you're working on, or whatever it is that your goals are, they are protected, and that there's guidance to continue doing that. Even if there's sort of like a thorn in the paw, right? It's kind of just like deal with the problem and then move on. Seven of Lotuses. This card also talks to me about protection as well, but a different sort of protection, which is sort of just like coming through as like finding a place to wait out a storm. That's how I see this Seven of Lotuses. Like waiting out a storm is how it's coming through. So there may be sort of like energies around you that are having to play out in a certain way, but that your path or your project or whatever it is that you're working on or moving towards or getting ready for is that it's protected, so you don't have to worry about that. It's moving forward. I just feel like there's an issue of just like dealing with some sort of more immediate problem, right? It's like you don't want to keep walking on the thorn in the paw. It's like remove it and then you can keep going. So you have here the Vessel and the Five of Lotuses. The Vessel here is the Devil card in this deck. But again, this is coming through with sort of like the receptacle to catch the lightning is how that's coming through. Or some sort of like so perhaps a physical object in some way that has some sort of significance to you. Could also just be representing your physical body as well. It's also bringing in the Saturn energy because this is Capricorn. With the Five of Lotuses though, the Five of Cups, there's some sort of change happening with this Devil energy. Because I'm kind of seeing it like this though. So there may be some sort of like stable structure that's changing or incoming energy or flow that is changing a really solid or stable situation. And it's kind of like here with the Seven of Lotuses, it's kind of like having to wait out whatever this change is until you can move forward. The Two of Cups at the bottom of the deck. The composer. Yeah, it just feels like waiting for the right time. I feel like I've been saying this a lot, but so it's coming through as being like, especially if you, so Uranus energy, as I said at the beginning, is not something that you can sort of depend on or rely on, because in its essence, it's sort of just like an occasional blessing is how that's coming through. But that sometimes lightning does strike, right? So it's kind of like being ready for that is how that feels to me. Like being ready, like having all of the things prepared, all of the day-to-day things, all of the routine-like things, all of the structure, having all of those, like having a very solid foundation in that, being ready for it is kind of how it's coming through with the composer, because it is kind of feeling like there's a build-up. So you can't necessarily predict where or when the lightning will strike, but atmospherically you can sort of say, like, predict that there will be a lightning storm at some point, right? That it's that kind of energy. The composer that talks about listening to cues in terms of energy, right? Like listening to energetic cues and like being able to respond or act when it is your time to come in is how that's coming through. You have here the swan at the bottom of the deck. That's the High Priestess. So intuition as well. With the maze and the vessel, I am always going to think about Harry Potter when I see this maze card, which talks about like because the vessel talks about a port key. That's sort of what I'm seeing here, right? The port key that sort of transports you from one place to another, right? So it's kind of coming through like that. But you have to everyone has to be sort of connected to it at the right time, at the same time. I have no idea what that means. I feel like it will, I don't know. There's so much about timing because Saturn energy is coming through very strongly in this one. I kind of want to pull one more card from okay, what to look out for, I guess, or what to focus on for this energy. The moon and the coffin. So you have the moon twice now. The moon and the coffin. So there's a quote here. It says, "Health is not valued until sickness comes," by Thomas Fuller. The coffin card is referred to as the death card, but it does not always mean a literal death. While it can relate to serious issues and end-of-life issues, more often it refers to endings and losses that may be personal or possibly financial. This coffin card shows someone lying in a sardine can, but we don't know if the can is being opened or closed. The person may have chosen to retreat into a dark place, away from people and problems. Sometimes before moving on from a difficult or painful situation, it's necessary to grieve or process the change. This card may indicate the need to withdraw and isolate, at least temporarily. The coffin may signify an estrangement, which may even occur because of your choice. On the other hand, this card may be pointing out something that is frightening you or causing anxiety. On the positive side, the coffin card may indicate the end of difficult circumstances. So there is an energy of retreat, which is interesting. But I feel like that's like maybe there's a difficult situation ending that has to do with sort of the oil of vitriol. Because all the other cards that I'm seeing are actually kind of like a forward moving kind of thing. But maybe there's sort of like a temporary retreat or a necessary period of withdrawing. Because the moon card also signifies that sort of like the darkness energy. So for the moon, the quote says, 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. It's a quote from Buddha, apparently. So many myths and legend around the world interpret the shapes on the moon as depicting the rabbit with his mortar and pestle. On this luminous moon card, we clearly see the tiny rabbit conjuring up his celestial magic. The moon is associated with myth, dreams, reverie, mystical matters, enchantment, and inspiration. When we gaze at the moon in the sky, we see not only a reflection of the sun's light, but also a mirror to our imagination and our subconscious. The moon illuminates intuition, instinct, perception, creativity, fantasy, and passion. The crescent moon reminds us that things happen in cycles, so if negative experiences are suggested by by nearby cards, it may be necessary to wait for the conclusion of events before expecting improvements. The moon card reflects and enhances other cards in its orb. Yeah, so some sort of significant ending is happening, kind of like removing a thorn in the paw before forward momentum can happen, is kind of how that's coming through. There may be significant dreams or intuition or symbols that may be important to you at this time. Have here the 5 of birds underneath the High Priestess, so there may be arguments with people or so right now Uranus is in Taurus. It is talking about long-term energies, but I feel like there's kind of like a need to step back in order to see a different perspective, is how that's coming through in whatever situation it is for you. So I need to step back in order to see a different perspective. Okay, I'm going to end it there. If this reading resonated with you, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. It helps so much. Thank you for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.